Welcome back to another episode of Through the Eyes of the Trades. Today we got the CEO, president of a big company, entrepreneur, big time businessman, Tony Onan. So, what is this company and what do you do here?
Well, we would be considered a small family-owned business. I'm third generation, and we are commercial glass contractors. So instead of what we don't do is like homes, small projects, automotive, trailers, campers, cars, things like that. So we focus generally on commercial office buildings, hospitals, healthcare, churches, things like that. And the majority of our business is worked with other general contractors, which we would consider our direct customer. Ultimately, the owner of the property or the building is our ultimate customer. So that's what we do here.
All right, it's a good take on it. Let you guys know. So, the big question is what got you into the glass trade in the first place? And did you plan on owning a company way back then?
That's a good question. Um, as I said, we're a family business. So my grandfather started the first, we'll say, version of Onan glass in, I believe, 1951.
Wow.
So I was taught, by my father, of course, and I knew or I decided what I was going to do with my career around age 16.
Hmm.
So I completed high school. I did go to college for a year and decided that I had a ready made business. Obviously, it was family, and I had worked in it since I was a young kid. Um, and I felt like it was the best opportunity I had to provide for my family, which, of course, at the time I didn't have, but my whole intention
Right.
was to be a father, husband, and raise children. And of course, I've been lucky enough to do that. As of now, this date, all three of my sons are actually involved in the business. So I'm hoping for a fourth generation, if you
Wow.
will. For me personally, I felt like I didn't have any other opportunities without going to school for 8 or 10 years and occurring massive debt. Really, but that was the issue.
Right.
So I had other aspirations. I considered law. Um, I considered marketing, just different things. But when it came down to it, I just decided to bet on myself, and I
Hmm.
got, I got lucky, extremely lucky. I have an excellent staff, and we've grown,
Right.
considerably. When I started in 1986, we
Hmm.
had 5 employees.
Wow.
Currently, we have 35 employees. We do probably 15 times the amount of business and revenue
Mm.
that we did then. And I would say this for anybody interested in getting into a trade, whether it's electrical, drywall, there's plenty of them out there.
Yes.
Our key to growth and success has been past performance.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is we work for the same customers year in and year out. And so I've built a rapport with them. And as long as you do exceptional work, you have to have excellent quality. Just because you know your customer doesn't
Right.
mean you're going to get away with things, cut corners, etc. But if you do that and build that rapport, it's like insulating your business. So I can look at the 2008 housing crisis.
Hmm.
Our business was off about 15%,
Hmm.
which is extremely small
Right.
compared to the effects of some other businesses.
Right.
And that was because we worked for people who were still working, during that time.
Hmm.
Is A, we were doing commercial mainly.
Right.
Secondly, during COVID is a classic example. We just arbitrarily decided that we would be an essential business. Because if
Hmm.
a car runs through the post office or runs into the grocery store, nobody's there to fix it.
Right.
So we stayed open, and business was sporadic at best, but because we had, again, insulated ourselves with the same other good companies.
Hmm.
There's sometimes we get with a client and we just don't match with them, and
Right.
that's part of it. You have to break some eggs to make a cake. So,
I
but
like that.
that would be the biggest thing I would say is really focus on your performance, educating yourself and educating your staff.
Right.
Safety, obviously, in a trade or construction is a big deal, and there are different nuances to each trade. Like when I look at our trade, the glass business, we're like the ear, nose, and throat doctor of the medical profession.
Hmm.
So we have to have excellent skills in the trade that we do, meaning the materials we work with, we can make them essentially perfect. Where drywall contractors, they have to get close and they can use spackle or mud to cover their problems.
Right.
We can't, because everything we provide is a finished product, so it can be seen by everyone.
Okay. Okay.
But that's the best advice I would give people looking to do that. And it is very tough for the people out there that think, if I own my own business, I'll be rich. That is not how it works.
Right.
It takes
I get it.
a lot of time and dedication.
Hmm.
But if one thing I can tell you, generally speaking, if you follow those good rules, you will get rewarded, and you'll be able to reward the people that work for you.
Hmm.
They'll be able to sustain and have families and have health insurance, auto insurance.
Right.
They'll be able to raise a family, and that's missing a lot in today's society. So
All right, my good people, you heard all that wisdom, but I remember that in 2008 when the housing crashed, and it went a few years. And in California, where I was from, it was bad. I mean, glass shop,
sure,
even the unions, the big warehouses, they were dry as a bone. And we had like people like men like you, the CEOs coming down just to try to do business, but nobody was really buying.
that's right,
So you were fortunate to actually only lose about 15%, like you said.
exactly,
So that's
yeah.
good news. So the next question is so when did you realize working in the trade and running a business were two completely different jobs?
um, well, and my trade education started at age 13, 14,
Right.
working in summers. And the biggest part of learning the trade
Hmm.
was being around professionals. So essentially, apprenticeship, on the job training, those are how young people can be around professionals in their
Right.
trade and see how they operate. A big issue throughout all businesses, I'm sure, is dependability,
Hmm.
punctuality. When you're working with adults and you're a young person, you see that coming in on time, picking up from yesterday and starting today where you left off, things like that. As a young person, you don't see it as much.
Right.
But if you're around those professionals, you pick that up and you realize the value because it's valuable to your employer.
Mm.
So as you learn a trade, the more value you bring, the more you will be rewarded for sure. Now, the business side took a little longer to
Yes.
completely understand. Outside of, I tell people all the time I have a degree from the University of Trial and Error, because if I if I have to do it once, I may have to pay for it and then I have to do it again. But really, the outside of obviously being tutored by my father and other
Hmm.
business professionals he knew, learning from your accountant, learning from your attorney.
Yes.
Um, I hear a lot of people skip and they say, "Well, that guy's not really doing anything. I can add up what my accountant is doing,
Yes.
but it's not the same." They, just like you, if you're a professional in your industry, you bring information and talent that the person you're working for does not have. So don't be afraid to rely on those other professional service providers, like an accountant, attorneys, real estate brokers, property managers. Those you can learn from everybody. And as my father used to say, God gave me two ears and one mouth to listen twice as much as I talk. So
Yes.
learning by observation is a big tool that people should have and should exercise.
Wow. That was another wisdom mouthful right there, Tony. So I know you kind of answered this, but anything you can piggyback on it, since I don't want to take up all the time here. We got
Sure.
one more question. What do you think most employees don't understand about what the owner is dealing with?
Oh,
Mhm.
that's a good one. Wow, that's tough. The one maybe thing that we could look at is, as all of us, each of us are individuals. I'm an individual. Brown's an individual. Everyone that works for me is an individual. At the same time, collectively, we have to accomplish a goal.
Mhm.
So sometimes the collective doesn't equal more than the individual parts. So kind of one thing I used to tell myself is whatever's going on in my life, good or bad, outside of work, I have to have the wherewithal to check that at the door. So
Mhm.
when I come to work, you don't have to be all cheery and rosy, but
Yes.
you don't want to bring a negative or a toxic point of view. Like I said, you had an argument with your best friend last night, and you let that carry over.
Right.
In trades, especially, safety is a big deal.
Yes.
So if you're preoccupied, then accidents happen. One thing that I've said in my entire career that I love about my job is that if we are smart, everybody's going to come to work, we're going to accomplish a goal, and everybody gets to go home safely to their children, their wives, whatever they have outside of work. So having a professional attitude and thinking as an individual employee, thinking of others because they're going through something too.
Yeah.
We all have things going on. So if we can hold that, or like I say, just check it at the door and focus on our job, that's probably one thing that individual employees don't see about the business owner, because as a person responsible, I have to make sure everybody's needs are met.
Yeah. Right.
Needs are met. You know, um, I can't go to my employees on Friday and say, "Fellas, sorry, we just can't write our paychecks this week." That's not how it works. That I make a commitment and I expect them to return the same
Right.
commitment. And as long as you can do that and do it well, you will move up the ladder.
Mhm.
Sometimes it might be slow and you might get a little frustrated,
Yes.
but you've got to remember, for every two employees, well, for every 10 employees that I hire, maybe one or two of them is going to work out to work really well with us.
Yes.
So if you are at a job and you realize maybe this is not the calling, this is not my thing, you're best to get a move on and go find that calling. The sooner you do, the better the quality of life you'll have, and those people that you love you can bring to them. So I would just say that's probably the biggest thing, is that as a business owner, I have to
Mhm.
watch out for everyone collectively, where
Yes.
the individual person, employee, maybe he only looks at his situation.
Mm.
So that's,
Right.
and that is usually um, covered by communicating.
Mm.
Communication is the biggest thing that overall we probably don't do enough of. Is just like I say, ego aside, all
Right.
those kinds of things. Just sit down and talk to people as men or as women. Just treat people professionally, and everything will work out.
There you go. Y'all heard it first from the best glass company around in Lexington.
We do our
So,
best.
Tony Onan. So, where can they find you out if they're looking for some commercial jobs?
Absolutely. Well, our website is onanarch.com. We show a lot of our pictures. It's limited information. Of course, we're located here in Central Kentucky in Lexington. Um, you know, again, word of mouth. If you have a commercial project that you're looking for, you find us, and we'll do our best for you.